The best is got out of the best typewriters only when they're regularly cleaned and maintained. Taking only a few minutes each day and presenting no difficulty whatsoever, regular cleaning and simple maintenance will add years to the life of a machine. It will also make life a good deal easier for the typist. There's no reason why the clear, clean type and easy movement so characteristic of a new machine should not be retained by one many years old, provided it's being properly looked after. Unless it is being properly looked after, a typewriter cannot be expected to produce good work. A few minutes daily spent in cleaning the machine would have avoided most of this. Let's just see exactly what daily maintenance involves. This wallet is supplied with every new Imperial machine. It contains a brush for cleaning the type, another for dusting the machine, a duster, a booklet to remind you how to take care of your machine, and an eraser and shield to keep your work neat and tidy should you make a mistake. And last but not least in our list of accessories is the typewriter dust cover. Just as we wear clothes to protect us from the weather, so a typewriter should always be covered when not in use to protect it from dust in the atmosphere. Even with the dust cover on, some dust is bound to get onto or into the machine. So the first thing to do is to start each day right, with a simple cleanup. The Imperial typewriter can be quickly and easily dismantled, so that not only the outside, but the inside and the working parts can be properly cleaned. The platen roller and carriage are removed from the frame, and the type unit is slid forward on its runners to expose the type. The duster is placed over the segment slots to stop them from being clogged up with dust, and the type is cleaned with the nylon bristled brush, which has been kept specially for the job. The brush is worked lightly but firmly over the face of the type, care being taken not to bend or strain the type bars. Once the type has been cleaned, the type brush is exchanged for the dusting brush, and the rest of the machine is dusted. Again, care is taken not to allow any dust to get into the segment slots, and also not to bend or strain any of the parts. After being dusted with the brush, the machine should be wiped over with the duster. Most typists like to look smart themselves, and the good ones like to keep their equipment equally smart. So make sure all the machine is cleaned properly before it's reassembled. To avoid dirt being transferred to the paper, and so spoiling an otherwise perfect piece of work, the platen roller should be wiped with a soft duster or rag. And if it needs further cleaning, a little methylated spirits may be used on the duster. When the platen roller has been replaced, the typewriter is again ready to do a good day's work. And the ease with which it can be operated will be ample repayment to the typist for the time she's spent in cleaning it. Coupled with daily cleaning, it's advisable to have the machine regularly inspected by an expert who will check all the working parts to see they're functioning properly. He will also make any slight adjustment that may be needed to keep the machine in first-class condition. The service agent will also see that the machine is properly oiled. And he is the only person who should oil the typewriter. If it's carried out regularly, the inspection, like daily maintenance, need interrupt the typist only for a few minutes, and it ensures that the machine will always be in perfect working order. So by daily maintenance and regular expert help, the typewriter will give years of trouble-free service, and its smart appearance will be a credit to its efficient operator. Let's just go over the main points of daily maintenance once again. Use the cover when the typewriter is not in use. Clean the typeface by light, firm strokes of the type brush, but take care not to strain the type bars. Dust the inside and the outside of the machine, and clean the platen roller to stop dirt being transferred to the paper. Unfortunately, a typewriter hasn't yet been made that will spell correctly. And even the best of us make mistakes which have to be corrected. But not this way, which is all too common. A typewriter eraser is made of abrasive materials, and any particles of this powder falling onto the moving parts are bound to cause trouble. The powder will quickly clog up the machine, slow down the action, and make typing much harder. Not only will the particles clog the parts up quickly, but they will also cause unnecessary wear. When rubbing out has to be done, and let's face it, it does have to be done, the carriage should be drawn out to its fullest extent, using the margin release if necessary, and an eraser shield placed over the word to be corrected to prevent smearing the surrounding words. The abrasive powder which drops off will now fall clear of the moving parts. Even if the mistake occurs near the middle of a line, the carriage should still be moved over as far as possible to prevent eraser dust falling into the segment slots. Errors are usually corrected by rolling the platen roller up a few spaces. But if this is done when near the bottom of the page, the paper may very easily slip. Imperial typewriters are now fitted with an end-of-page indicator, which acts as a guide to warn the typist that the bottom of the page is being approached. As it is fed into the machine, the top edge of the paper moves up the scale arm. When it reaches the scale markings, the 3 lines below each figure indicate there are only 3 more spaces to the bottom of the particular size of paper. Therefore, if the mistake is made near the bottom of the page, the typist is warned by the indicator that there is very little paper left in the machine. When this happens, it is advisable to turn the platen roller back until the line for correction appears on the top of the paper shelf. The mistake is then erased in the normal way. After the mistake has been erased, the platen roller is turned up and the original printing point is relocated without trouble. Providing the machine has been properly maintained, good work depends to a great extent on the quality of the ribbon and the way it is used and looked after. If a typewriter is to be left standing for some time without use, it helps to preserve the ribbon to wind it tightly onto one spool. This stops the occurrence of dry patches, which might appear in the middle of the ribbon if it were left exposed to the air for any length of time. When it is necessary to replace the ribbon, the correct type of spool for the machine must be used, and a high-quality ribbon correctly fitted. First, make sure that the old ribbon is all wound onto the right-hand spool and the shift lock depressed. The ribbon is then removed from the guides and the spools lifted clear of the machine. The old ribbon is detached from the spool and replaced by the new one, with the black edge uppermost. The ribbon is given 6 turns round the empty spool in order to anchor it properly before it is placed on the machine. To replace the ribbon tension levers are moved out of the way and the spools placed on their respective spindles, the full one on the right-hand side. The ribbon is then threaded through the right and left ribbon guides and looped behind the prongs of the center ribbon guide. When the ribbon is in position behind the inner prongs, it is pressed downwards until the top edge can be engaged by the outside guides of the center ribbon guide. Pressure is then released, and the ribbon finds its own position in the guides. Now let's see our typist fitting a new ribbon on her typewriter. It is most important that the ribbon should be positioned properly in the center ribbon guide. Behind the inner prongs and under the edge of the outer guide is the only place it can go for the typewriter to work properly. Now let's just see the details of this important operation once again. Move the ribbon tension levers out of the way. Place the spools on their spindles, the full one on the right-hand side. Thread the ribbon through the right and left ribbon guides and loop it behind the prongs of the center. Press the ribbon downwards until the top edge can be engaged by the outside guides of the center ribbon guide. Release the ribbon so that it finds its own position in the guides. Most of us know the trials of having to cut stencils, especially when there are a lot to do. After a run, the type tends to become clogged and has to be cleaned out. For many years, manufacturers have been trying to find a solution to this problem. And recently, a ribbon of very thin plastic material has been developed, which can be put into the machine in place of the normal ink ribbon. With clean type, of course, this ribbon allows the impression to be made on the stencil without the type picking up any wax. And because the ribbon is so thin, a clear impression is made on the stencil. The ribbon does not cause the quality of the work to deteriorate. Rather, it is improved because there is no possibility of clogging, and chopping out is eliminated. Remember, the particles falling from the eraser should never be allowed to fall on the working parts. The ribbon should be wound onto one spool if it is to be left for any length of time. When using a stencil cutting ribbon, always start with clean type so that both ribbon and machine can be used to best advantage. One last point. When leaving the office for more than a few days, as well as winding the ribbon onto one spool, lock the machine by bringing the margins together in the center of the carriage. It is also advisable to draw the feed rolls away from the platen roller to prevent flats forming on either surface. And no matter how late you are or how quickly you want to get away, don't forget the cover.